What a shaking, everybody. Welcome back to the Spinz Vinyl Show. Every single Tuesday at 8 p.m. Central, I bring on an esteemed member of the vinyl community for a segment called For the Record. And tonight we have band member, record label owner, Mexico native, frequent member of the Surface Noise live stream. And I'm actually literally super excited to talk to him about this, because even though we're friends on Surface Noise, we haven't really had a chance to do a one-on-one and to get into this stuff. So this is gonna be super fun. Everybody, please welcome Jose Moreno Rahn. Jose, what is up?
Hi, Aaron. Just a quick correction: not native Mexican. 100%.
Oh no.
No, I'm not Mexican. No.
Oh man, I thought I'm gonna make this assumption, and I shouldn't have done it. I should have asked you.
Yeah, don't worry.
Where are you from originally?
I'm from El Salvador.
Okay, El Salvador. So transplant to Mexico, straight from El Salvador. Sorry about that.
Yeah, don't worry.
What's up, everybody? Shout out Tokyo in the
I
house.
do live here, which that's why the confusion. It's whatever. Don't worry.
How long have you been? Did you grow up in Mexico, or how long have you been there?
No, I came here to study university.
Okay.
12 years ago. No.
12 years. Okay.
Yeah.
Do you mind sharing your age with everyone? Because part of what we're going to get into, I think, you're in your 20s, right?
No, I just turned 30.
You just turned 30. Okay.
Yeah. Like 18 days ago, 17 days ago.
Oh, well, happy birthday. I missed it.
But
yeah, part of your story, and I think what's fun about a lot of the stuff we're going to get into today is just like how you've sort of accomplished a lot, in the time that you've been on this planet. So that's pretty cool. I want to get into that too. I was actually in Mexico, dude. I don't know if you remember me telling you I was going to be going. We took a cruise.
Yeah, like a cruise or something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, we were in Ensenada. So we were barely in Mexico, right?
Well, Ensenada or Tijuana? Ensenada?
Yeah, it's right on the coast. I mean, right.
Yeah, no. I know it's Baja California. Yeah. Yeah. All right. I've never been to not even to LA or Baja California or Baja California Sur, which is the south. Two different states, like North Carolina, South Carolina, but there's no actual north. They just call it Baja California.
Okay.
And they get angry about it. So I never say north part. Yeah. But
Mexico is a massive place, right? But it's like, you go there and I'm thinking of you and I'm like, oh man, I wonder if we could hook up with Jose. I'm like, yeah, there's no way. We were only there for a day, so.
Well, but I live like 2 days by bus or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not. It's like if I said, hey, I'm going to go to Minneapolis. You want to? Well, maybe that's too close. I'm going to go to Philly or New York, and you're like, well, I live like very far away from there.
Yeah.
But yeah, I hope it was nice.
It was cool, dude. The highlight, we went, on the quads, 4-wheeling and stuff, and then we did some tequila tasting. So yeah, it was fun, dude. It was really fun.
Okay.
So you have so much going on, dude. It's hard for me to even know where to start with you, because it's like you have so much going on. But why don't we just start kind of at the beginning? How did you get into vinyl? What is it about vinyl that appealed to you when you started getting heavy into it?
Well, my dad, since I can remember, he was a CD collector.
Mm-hmm.
So my dad is 35 years older than me. So he's 65, maybe 50, 66. I don't remember. But so he's not a musician at all, but he always enjoyed music. And growing up, I have 2 older sisters, and sports here are a very popular thing to like do with your kids. But my dad already had 2 sisters, 2 daughters. So my sister is very much into like football, which the real football, the one
The
The
kind
one
you
with
actually play with your feet.
the one with the foot, yeah. So I guess that by the time that I came around, because my older sister is 6 years older than me. I'm guessing he was like, if he doesn't like football or whatever, like, fuck it. So at the beginning, he sort of tried, and I remember having like a jersey, like a Barcelona jersey or stuff like that, but it was never my thing, and he never pushed it. He was never like, you have to like this shit or blah blah blah. He never, till this day, he's never pushed me to like some things. He's always given me advice in life, blah blah blah. He's not like, like, do whatever you want. No, but he's very open to like me liking stuff, which sort of goes hand in hand with like when we talk about like what type of music I release, what type of music I play, blah blah blah. By the way, if you hear my dogs, they're barking like crazy.
Yeah.
So yeah, I was raised with my dad and me bonding by going to a record store, and he would pick up CDs, and he would let me loose at the record store, and I would come back and be like, like, oh, I like this cover, I like this, or if I recognize something from like TV or radio, blah blah blah. And I think that's why in this, you know we live in this bubble where everyone here collects records or CDs or cassettes or is a collector, whatever, whatever you want to collect. So we all assume that everyone has the experience of going to a record store, blah blah. But most people, when you talk to them about records, you got that friend that always asks you like, oh, they still, like, oh, that's weird. They still like they still make those things,
Right.
stuff like that. So, but it was super important to me that there was a guy when I was like 10, 11 years old, that he would ask me, what's the last thing that I bought? And he would probably almost always recommend me something that was not the same band or the same genre most of the times. So, and I appreciate that a lot. I don't remember the guy's name at all.
Oh, really?
No, I don't remember. I was like 10, but
Yeah.
the play was called CD Planet. I remember that.
What kind of music are we talking, Jose? Give us an idea what we're listening to.
Well, when I was like 6, 7, 8, I would listen to whatever my parents, like most people, my parents. But my dad has a very weird taste in music. He likes like soul and some jazz, and his favorite bands are like Steely Dan and what else did he like? He's not that much into Pink Floyd. I mean, he probably, but I would say Steely Dan is like consistently something he liked. And but again, he never pushed it onto me. And he would let me go to his where all the CDs were, and I would pull them up and I would just look at the covers. And I remember like one of the first CDs that I remember listening to was like Cat Stevens' Tea for the Tillerman, or what else was it? I don't know, stuff like that. And that sort of got me in this way that I was really going into what appealed to me, but I was very much open to people's suggestions. So that was for a little while, and then the Doors, the classic things, blah blah blah. But I remember going to those record stores, and some like a guy just telling me like, hey, do you like the Doors? Yes. And he was like, well, they're on this label that's called Elektra. And I was like, all right, like, what's a label? And they were like, well, these people that, get the artist, this CD is, made basically because someone that had more money than the band and more connections or whatever, which is not true anymore, I guess. But for the time being, of course. They got all the connections. They can sell your records. All right, blah blah blah. And he would suggest me stuff like the Stooges, and I started getting into stuff like that, MC5, and all of a sudden was like, well, there's this guy in MC5 that plays guitar. His name is Fred Sonic Smith, and he was married to this lady called Patti Smith, and then and a band that got influenced by his name was Sonic Youth, and that's sort of how. And this is like in a period of like years, right?
Yeah.
Like he would at the beginning. I got into like metal for whatever reason. I got into like metal music, and I got into into stuff that was really I would say like mainstream, not in a bad way. Like I got like AC/DC stuff like that, right? Because it was in
a lot of us. You get into the stuff that's popular, yes. And yeah.
All right. Yeah. Wait. But so yes, I think that I got into that. But as soon as I got into that, and I was a very obsessive kid, so I would get into the whole discography. I remember like the Doors, and I was like, first records, I was like, oh great, but then there was like, the singer died, and I was like, oh shit, and then they were like, well, they released 2 more records, and I was like, oh nice, I want to hear that, and for some reason, immediately, I didn't hate the fact that Jim Morrison was not in the band, because I remember when somebody explained to me, AC/DC, the singer, he passed away, and this other guy, which is the third singer, because the first singer nobody actually knows, the one who recorded 2 songs. So that was interesting to me, and I would really like it, and I would listen to them, and I liked the songs, and I remember like getting a CD, and there was one of my favorite Doors songs that nobody has ever talked to it's Orange County Suit. You know that song?
No.
I think it's Jim Morrison playing. It's only like 1 or 2 chords on the whole
really?
song. Yeah, but it's a pretty interesting song. It's a B-side on a CD. It's, I don't know, 2003, 2005, something like that. But so stuff like that, I would live in this bubble in the sense that I love those like B-sides and stuff like that. And again, all these records that they were made with no one. I remember Talking Heads, No Talking, Just Head, or whatever the horrible record is. So stuff like that, I got really into that quickly, because people the way this guy would tell me stuff would interest me. And also, he seemed like he didn't like a lot of the music he would recommend, but he sort of like knew that I would like it based on like previous things that I liked, which I appreciated, because I don't remember him ever telling me like, you shouldn't listen to that because that's horrible. Yeah. Or whatever. He was immediately just like, well, like this comes after this. Once you establish like some band, it influenced this other one, and it was sort of like, evolving.
Wow. That is so cool. So many people, I think, don't have that benefit of having someone tell them where the entry points are, right? And oftentimes we just recommend music or band or record or something like that, and it's not the best place for someone to start, and then they can't really get into it. They already get like they're judging it already. But for you had somebody that was like literally taking you through the maze, like start here, now go here.
Yeah. I think, again, I liked a lot of the stuff that he recommended me. When it started going downhill, it was when he started recommending me, like, because I remember at one point we got into like 9 Inch Nails, which, so immediately I think he recommended me like Depeche Mode, which till this day I'm not a big fan, sorry, but I'm not. So I wanted something, a little bit stronger than that. And instead of there was a logical path that he could have gone, but I think that he didn't knew those bands or that music. So he started going to the metal section again. And my problem with metal, which again was nice as an introduction, was that I started noticing that as soon as any metal band had like the smallest hint of experimentation, be it a different sound in the snare or a keyboard, or the vocals have more reverb, or the amp was like this or that, or the type of anything they would do, immediately people hated it. And I didn't understand that. It was very weird, because it was sort of in my head, it was sort of like, it's like Uber. Simple analogy. When you take Uber or Lyft or whatever you take, people in their heads normally think this human being is giving me a service, so they feel like a little mighty. But it's like, hey, motherfucker, you don't have a car or a ride, and that guy owns the car. You know what I mean? That guy owns the car, and you're just going along for the ride. So I think of it that way with music. It's sort of like the way people demand bands to never change their sound, or to always do this. I've never got into, like, I don't know how people are like adamant that they have to sound the same and the same and the same.
Right.
And there are bands that I don't like because they changed their sound, but those bands I immediately would put them in a different category, because I think the band sounds so different, that like something had to happen. I know we're in an interview. I have to. My downstairs neighbor just wants me to open the door. All right,
Go for it. All good. All good. Woo. Cool stuff. What's up, everybody? We're just vibing here with Jose Moreno Rahn. You guys probably recognize him from the Surface Noise live stream that we do on Thursdays. Although he has been really busy lately. He hasn't really appeared because he's been so busy with his band. And we're going to get into that. We'll get him to segue into how, because he had mentioned that a lot of the music, his early influences, influenced his guitar playing and his kind of who ends up on his label. He has a record label as well. So we'll segue into those. Shout out Cesar in the house. What's up, Cesar? Vinyl and Kicks. What's up? Good to see you guys. Breakfast King in the house. Appreciate you guys being here. Yeah, so cool stuff. I'm gonna, I don't know. I had my dad, fortunately. He was really into music. We grew up in the Bay Area in California, and he went to, the Fillmore every weekend. He's at shows at the Fillmore growing up, right before I was born, and Winterland and stuff like that. And so I got to hear, me growing up, I got a lot of influences from him. So I feel so lucky that, and Jose similarly, that we had kind of a strong influence for music. Although I will say my dad was someone that would be like, you don't want to listen to that. Unlike Jose, my dad would be like, why are you listening to that? So, but obviously that generation gap too. When I started listening to more 80s stuff, he was kind of like, The Cure is never gonna last. Well, they just came out with a new record. So what's up, Jim Jones? What's up, Easy Now? We're talking to Jose Moreno Rahn. We've been briefly segued just because we're in kind of an intermission. He had to go take care of something, but good to see you guys. Yeah, I'm stoked to get into the record label stuff with him. He's in Mexico. He has a label there, and we'll let him talk about it. But I know the label stuff is really on point.
Yeah, I had to run.
All good, baby. So let's get into, you talked about how, listening to music, this person that you're talking about, whose name you don't even know, influenced your, guitar playing and the label that you have and stuff. Let's jump into the guitar stuff, man. When did you start? When did you pick up the guitar for the first time?
When I was 13, I think. Yeah.
Okay. Was this guy part of your life at that point?
No, actually, it was a place called Mixed Up.
Mm-hmm.
In there used to be a big retail store here in Mexico, and they opened one store in El Salvador, which you know, was interesting. But I think that most people, the way that they encounter music early on, it's sort of different. Adding to that guy, I would say that I used to go, growing up in Central America, there was a lot of what do you call it, like a Salvation Army type stuff, where you go and like, stuff that are like donations and stuff like that. And there was always really weird CDs, and that's another way that I got into music. So that was after I used to go to this store. I started going to get like used records and CDs, which is how I also started collecting vinyl. Because at one point we found this place that people, I guess in the US or whatever, used to like do donations, and I would buy records for like $2, $3, So a lot of the stuff that that I started collecting when I was a kid was because of that, So
Yeah. What was your so did you, when you started playing, how did you get your first guitar? Did your parents buy it for you, or?
yeah, my sister played guitar, but she stopped basically. I think some asshole told her that she had big hands when she was learning to play guitar, and
Wasn't that what you want?
I guess, my
Oh, I thought
my
you meant like that was a bad thing.
yeah, but my sister's very skinny and like my about my height, and I don't know why she got said that, but she got like really a little bit like upset or whatever about it. But I think that it it was that I used to play violin. That was my first instrument, and then viola after that. And we stopped. Like my other sister played the piano, and we all stopped. And then when I was 13, I grabbed her guitar, and it had 3 strings, and I learned how to tune those 3. And I just sort of like, it was the last 2 and the first string, so I could do like power chords, and then like do like, I guess, like high notes and some stuff. But I think that it was not anything serious. I started doing it just because, whatever, a kid starts doing it. Some girl told you that it was cool, blah blah blah, and so
That
nothing.
motivated a lot of guitar players.
Yeah, I guess, but there was nothing out of the ordinary. And then all of a sudden, I started hanging out with um, like friends that I was making outside of my school, which was a big influence on me, because the school that I went to, nobody played any instruments that I knew, and everybody outside, going to parties, blah blah blah, uh, whatever you call that, play dates when you're 13 or whatever. But I think that it was very interesting timing. I don't have any older brothers, only older sisters. So it was also interesting to see, like, what an older brother suggests their little brother's, music journey, blah, blah, blah. And all of a sudden I started hanging out more with the brothers instead of the kids that were my age,
Yeah.
So that's also something to have, considering,
So at some point you have a band now. So take us from where is it where you're playing with your friends, brothers and that, and you're, playing music and stuff, getting more into guitar. Eventually you get good enough, you meet the right people. Take us to where that is now.
Yeah. So because I started hanging out with kids that were like older than me, at least like 2 or 3 years older than me, I started playing with some of those, and I had a band. We used to do like covers and stuff like that.
Uh-huh.
And all of a sudden, I wrote a dumb fucking song that I thought would be cool if we had like a real song to play at the beginning of the show. And for whatever reason, it became this sort of like weird thing that the band saw it as a, oh, and he's showing off because he wants to write a song, you know. But it was not. It was just like I thought it would be cool to have a song to start with that is ours, and then we can do whatever covers they want to do. And I used to play bass on that band because everybody played guitar, so I started playing bass on that. So that's how I learned how to play more than one instrument. Um, and again, I think sonically, I started listening to a lot of different stuff. Mostly around that time, I was listening to like Velvet Underground and like Sonic Youth, which would lead immediately into other stuff around New York in the 80s. And I don't know, it just started to make sense to me that I didn't want to learn other people's songs because I liked them too much. I thought, why the fuck would anybody want to hear me, do Hey Joe or whatever,
Right.
Like even Bob Dylan, which was one of the first, musical obsessions that I had as a kid. I didn't want to learn those songs because I liked them a lot. I don't know how to explain that, but so that band split up. I graduated from high school, whatever, and I came here to do to study. And I started with acoustic guitar because that's all I brought from home. I did have an electric guitar. I still have it over there. The one that I when I was a kid started playing. But what was the name of the band? It was called Perhaps.
Is there any evidence that band ever existed, Jose? Did you guys ever record anything?
There's a video up on YouTube, I think, of us playing as
Oh, like hell yeah, dude!
But
did you see? I want to just shout out Cesar too. Did you see his comment? You want to?
Yeah, I'll talk about that a little.
Okay.
But I will say that growing up over there, and I went to high school, so my first language that I learned how to speak or write is English. So a lot of the music that I was listening to was in English. And it wasn't until I came here, which that'll be the journey when we start talking about my label, that I started listening to music in Spanish. Because I was lied to, when I was a kid, that there was no music from my region and there was no music from, so I just think that it's such a interesting thing to be outside of your country and starting learning about your country from a very different point of view. Because when you tell people that you're from over there, people have like either misconceptions of they heard the name in the news and it used to be bad and now it's good and now it's weird. So, but I started reading a lot of literature and started listening to music from my country because I got really interested. Because people used to ask me, "Hey, what's up with your country? Tell me a band, tell me a movie, blah blah blah," and I didn't had an answer. I didn't know, and I think most people my age still doesn't because in the 80s there was a war and it lasted for almost 12 years. So interestingly enough, it was a weird era. I was born after a war, a civil war in my country, and we were behind like everybody for like 10 years. So when I got here, I got very nostalgic and people started asking me that. And every time I would go back to my country, I started collecting records and music and stuff like that. And then, I started playing music here. Only it was me and a harmonica and a guitar. And then I started having gigs, and I met a girl that we used to sing, and then she left for another project, and then it was me alone. And then I met my wife, and she started singing with me. And again, we used to play, folk music, and then that evolved to, I don't want to play harmonica, and we had an accordion player, and then we had a drummer and a bass player, and now we play like something completely different.
Well,
Um,
I'm glad you mentioned your wife because I was going to ask about that. So
yeah,
you guys met through the music then. You kind of started as bandmates. Is that how it happened? How you
yeah,
guys met?
you could say that. Our paths seem to like cross a lot, and you know, I don't know. It was like after a year we met that we first dated. Um, I don't really have like a specific date that I
Right.
remember. That was like the first
It
time.
was the
Like,
era.
no, yeah. But she stuck around, and we started doing music together. And I love the fact that she's also like me, that is always trying to find new music to listen to, find new stuff. Because from my perspective, it's just like there's so much, great music out there, that I think the problem sometimes with genres like classic rock is that you don't really expand that much. It's like when people tell me they're metalheads. Do you know how many metal bands there are like in the world? It's like one of the genres that I assume are have like the most amount of metal bands, and every metal bass player is in like three bands, blah blah blah. But you never hear about them because it's a genre that exists mostly in like bestsellers, the big names, blah blah blah. So it's just stuff like that really started not appealing to me, and it's just something that every single day I'm very proud to say that my Discogs account was made like in 2008. You
Oh,
know,
really?
yes, because I used to go and like look for CDs that I would ask my dad, like when he used to go to like the US or outside of the country. I would tell him, hey, can you? He would get like one, right? But I would make this huge list of like 20 records, and he would get one or whatever, like a Weird Al Yankovic CD or something like that. But it was very important to me because I love the fact that it was like, still is. Like you could go to Weird Al and be like, oh, like Amish Paradise. Oh, who's the original guy that did it, blah, and then you click on it, and then you're like, who produced it, blah, and you can see like all the records the other guy did, and all the records the other guy produced.
Is that
So,
how you learn about new bands now? Is that kind because you like you said
yes,
early on, like a lot of us, we had someone kind of in our ear helping us. Now is it because and some people now it's like Spotify or Apple, right? And you just kind of get like, but for you, it
yeah,
seems like you dig in there and do your research.
I have a lot of good friends here that we sort of collect the same thing. So sometimes how I learned with some stuff and how they learn from some stuff is we share like, hey, do you already have this? And
Yeah.
when the immediate response is no, that's always interesting. But I would say Discogs definitely, because if you like an artist, let's say like a generic, well, not generic, but like a very popular band, like or artist like Billy Joel, right? Oh, you like Billy Joel? All right. Well, did you know that he had a classical music that he put out, right? Or Attila, the metal-ish type, heavy rock band that he had. So stuff like that, or Simon and Garfunkel. They used to be called Tom and Jerry, and they did release a lot of music with that moniker. So stuff like that. It was always interesting to me. Like
Yeah.
you have a Frank Zappa record in the back, and I remember one of the first artists that I
With
ever got.
Captain Beefheart, just for you.
Yes, happened before. one of the first artists I remember like being like, oh my god, like I want to listen to like every single song out of their discography was him. And
Yeah.
of course, he already passed away. And it was just so interesting. It was like all these live recordings, and they all sounded different sometimes. And some other guy was singing, and then so I started doing the math with music.
It
And
was like 6 degrees of Kevin Bacon music style. You
yes,
can like go in
yeah,
so many directions. Yeah.
yeah, and and I really like it because I also started having like going to a path. I mean, like I don't like this, and then going back or going up. I remember going to Steve Vai. You're Frank Zappa, and then you're like, oh, my favorite, one of the Halloween specials, the Torture Never Stops. That's one of my favorite live uh, recordings by Frank Zappa. He plays there, right? And then immediately I was like, oh, what else does Steve Vai does? And
Yep.
immediately when I listened to it, I was like, not for me, thank you.
Oh,
And
really?
no, I
Wait,
know.
he's played with David Lee Roth and Alcatraz and and
No,
White
no, no.
Snake, and you're like, nah.
No, actually, I think I'm going to go see him because he's playing right now with a band called Beat.
Oh, really?
That? It's the King Crimson band when they recorded Discipline, Three of a Perfect Pair, and what's the other Beat. So they're doing a tour, and it's Adrian Belew, the Chapman Stick, the what's this guy's name? The bass player for Peter Gabriel. Anyways, and Steve Vai's playing, and the drummer for Tool. So it's a good
Wow.
band. So they're touring around.
Who famously played the burned up Jimi Hendrix Strat that Frank Zappa owned. Yeah, that's awesome.
Right. So stuff like that gets you into some place. Adrian Belew is actually a great example because King Crimson, right? And I like the first record a lot. It's probably like you can see it there. It's like the purple thing there. But I like it a lot. But Islands, Red, those records to me like blew my mind. And when I got to the 80s stuff, I didn't hate it because, for example, I don't like Genesis after Peter Gabriel left because I think it just sounded like a completely different band. It's like, yes, the first record's like, good. It's like, proggy stuff with a little rocky thing that was happening in England after, Canterbury Prague was like dying. But immediately in the 80s, it was a rough time for a lot of bands.
Of the Lonely Heart, and yeah, just got poppy,
Yeah.
right? Yes, and
Yeah.
yeah.
I hated it. Yeah, I personally I hated it. But so I couldn't listen to that. But I started, slowly getting into stuff like that. And then Adrian Belew was like, what else? Where else does he play? Oh, it's this band called Talking Heads. Oh, he sings exactly the same as this guy called David Byrne. And so stuff like that, like even St. Vincent, because she played with David Byrne. She has a beautiful cover of These Days, the Nico song, the Nico cover song. So stuff like that. It was just I got interested, and I still am. I don't know if you want to call it ADHD or whatever you want to call it, but I think music exploration. You don't have to have. It's not like just for people that are younger. Blah blah blah. It's always nice. I think psych people, like people that like a lot of psych, they're actively looking out for like this record that eluded them, or this record that out of a private press in Wisconsin or whatever, right? That nobody's ever heard, just to own it and find it in a dollar bin so they could be like, look what I found. If you want it, you have to pay like $1,000. And
Just
people,
when you thought you knew everything about psych, check this out. Yeah,
exactly,
I know.
So it's sort of like that. I guess of course, experimental music is like absolutely like that. But those are two great genres that I think that people still are looking for new sounds. But sometimes with like classic rock, my problem is that people get comfortable, which is not a bad thing. There's comfort you can find in music, but at least for me, that it's like something that I actively have to. I'm buying records, I'm selling records, and I really, 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 really need nothing good comes out of Wisconsin. I really, really need to. It's like something in me that wants to know what else is there.
You're like an explorer. You just want to, you want to
It's just,
know what have I not explored yet? And, and that's how you find those nuggets of gold, right?
yeah, that's why not to contradict myself in the beginning, but to expand on what I was saying was sometimes when I hear a band that completely makes a left turn to their sound, it sort of still appeals to me most of the times, but sometimes, like, the Genesis that I was saying, uh, loses so much that I don't recognize the band anymore. So because original Genesis was theatrical and weirdy and poetry wise, and it was very whatever you want to call it, even carnival-ish a little bit, so very British and theater and stuff. But as soon as something like that happens, it could go both ways. But I'm gonna listen to it. That's the thing. If I if you have heard me say that I don't like something, it's because I've listened to it. And when I don't know something, I'll tell you I don't know something, even if it's a very popular thing. I remember as a kid when Chinese Democracy came out, and I was like, this is one of the worst shit I've ever heard in my life. But I was like, it can be that this band that everybody knows that just released a record everybody seems to hate has shitty music. So I tried everything. I can listen to most of their music because it's everywhere, and it's one of those bands that you don't have to do anything. But I got good things out of that. Shannon Hoon, that used to sing backing vocals for some songs in their discography, was in a band called Blind Melon that I liked a lot. And they have a record that's called Spaghetti Incident that I think is fun. They have a Charles Manson song that they cover that I think it's nice. But so again, I try to go into things from a perspective that I think it's just I'm interested. If I don't like a movie, I'll tell you why I don't like it. If I like a book, I'll tell you why I don't like it because I read it. Because I remember even as a kid, like, oh, Twilight came out, and everybody was like, oh, this is horrible shit. But I watched them, and I can tell you that probably not for me. Not I don't hate it, but there are certain things like that, and
Well,
there are genres that I don't know a lot about, like rap and hip hop, but the music I do like. I like it because there was a certain thing that I like, but I don't pretend to like the whole genre just because I like Beastie Boys and Mos Def, something.
right. Well,
So
you were talking about kind of developing your ear for more, things that were less traditional, maybe like in metal, you were saying, and people hate when like things got more distorted or more. And that could almost take us, and there's a few different kind of references that in the 2000s where that starts to get into like metal and the popular bands even that were coming out that during that time. I think I've heard you say in the past that you're a fan of shoegaze music.
yeah, of course I am. But for example, my thing with shoegaze and like grunge was that they were very loose genres that
Yeah.
the artist didn't like, and I don't understand what it entitles to be a grunge band, except maybe the region and time, and that they were most of them friends. But as a genre, it's loosely, uh, no, so, wait, Sound on Minor. He's a good guy. You don't have to like.
I'm sorry. We've been getting some controversy. There's been some
Don't
rudeness
worry.
going on.
But Sano Minor, he's a good guy.
Okay,
He's a
I'm
friend.
sorry. I'm so sorry. I don't know everybody,
All
and
right, all right. No,
people
he's
today creating different accounts. There's been like 2 or 3. I'm so sorry.
no, no,
That's
no.
it's been a theme today, Jose, and I've
All
had
right,
to.
right. Yeah, don't worry.
My
You know,
friend,
people.
I'm sorry. That's what happens.
No,
Sometimes
don't
you
worry.
get caught up in it, so I'm really sorry.
All right. Anyways, what I will say.
There was some disrespectful stuff going on earlier.
Oh yeah, don't worry. But he's a nice.
Okay, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I take
Anyways, what I was gonna say is, grunge to me was like I got interested in Nirvana, for example, but and I liked Temple of the Dog, but Pearl Jam didn't click on me that much, and in my country it got played like the plague, fucking like Black, and even Flow and stuff like that. So I got tired, very constantly getting tired of it, and with shoegaze, what's nice is that most bands seem to wear their what do you call that, their inspirations, on their sleeve or whatever they say. And I think it was is a beautiful genre, but again, the experimentation in them. For example, if you like Spaceman 3, and then you're like, oh, what else do they have? Spiritualize and Sonic Boom doing 1,000 projects and producing a lot of music. Again, music exploration. That's what I will say is the theme with me. It's just sometimes there is music that I know that even if I don't like, it's gonna get played, and if I can know about it. But I got a little bored, like I told you. I get a little bored quickly with stuff.
Can you
So
connect us, like, all of the stuff that you're sharing with us right now, which is awesome. Can you connect that to, has that been somewhat inspired your music and the current things that you're doing now in your band?
Well, my band right now, we're doing, I don't know what the fuck we're playing, but like genre wise, I don't know what
it's not pop Genesis for sure, right?
No. But it's a mixture of a lot of things. I try not to think too much about it. I know what I like. I know I like very clear vocals, even if it's which I can guess you can relate a little bit to with like shoegaze, which is this noise in the back and this very clear, beautiful voice in front.
Yeah.
Which I guess that's the only thing. I'm not saying I play shoegaze. I'm just saying like that is more influential to me than perhaps just the actual sound of a specific band.
Where do you guys perform? Like, or for people that don't know, because if you're people that don't know, you guys should follow Jose on Instagram, because he shares a lot of this stuff. And I've always seen you, like, it seems like you are playing in a spot where maybe there's some other bands, almost like an open mic, but I don't know if I'm not sure. No. Okay. Well, but talk about that.
It's mostly venues here in Mexico, but I've played in the US.
Okay.
I've done a little touring in the US. I'm planning on doing that maybe next year. But
do you do a lot of, and kind of based on what you're saying so far, do you guys plan out the set list, or is this more like improvisational playing?
There's a lot of improvisational playing. We just played a show on Saturday that I think it's probably the best we've ever sound, which is nice.
It was part of what you shared was amazing, dude. It was great.
Yeah, thanks. The band's called Sonido 13, which is 1900s musical notation by a Mexican composer called Julián Carrillo. That there's 12 tones, in a scale, but he was starting to play a little bit with microtones, which is a tone within a tone, which you can set like one note and split up 100 ways, and that's called a microtone. And he had this notation for it, and he called it Sonido 13. That wasn't before the 1900s, maybe 1890 something. But around 1900s when he started like getting recognition for it. But so it's classical music, I guess. But there's a lot of great stuff. Yeah, sonido. Wait, how do I don't
Yeah,
have the chat here.
just type it into the chat.
Wait, I have to like connect myself with the StreamYard. I don't know why it logged me out. I haven't been using.
We haven't seen Jose in a while. He's been busy with his band.
Yeah, because
and then put your Instagram handle in there too if you can.
Yeah, I'm trying to get in here.
I guess I can do that.
Wait. No, I'm almost there.
Okay.
Oh yeah, gracias, Cesar. Cesar put it. Thanks. But again, it's music. I'm not trying to please anybody with the music I play. I can't give a fuck about that in the sense that I learn. Unfortunately, well, I'm 30, but I call it like I wish I knew that when I was 20. That the first thing you have to do when you do music is you do music for yourself, right? And that if somebody doesn't like it, that's great. That's great. It doesn't mean they hate you. And if they hate you and that's why they don't like the music, who cares? If somebody dislikes you, like, you see people here and there.
You have to get over when you're an artist or doing anything public, right? Is that not everyone is going to like what you're doing.
I think, fine. For example, here, you can see it like in the chat, there's some people trying to troll. I don't know them. Why they dislike me? I don't know, because I used to hang a certain show and I don't anymore, or because they
usually
no, I know. That's what I'm saying.
A really nice guest list here.
No, I know. But that's what I'm saying.
I'm sorry, somebody got caught up in the shrapnel. Please forgive me. I'm gonna unban you. But
I was gonna say is that it's just I don't take it personally,
right?
Because I don't know any of these guys. They might be cool guys, and I don't know them. But just because they don't like someone that I'm hanging out with, doesn't mean that anything. So again, sometimes with music, you have to understand that people will want to listen to whatever you have to offer if you keep true to yourself first, because that's what they'll appeal to them. Because nobody's like expecting like, oh, I'm making music for you. No, fuck that. Why would you make music for a single person? Do it for yourself. And if somebody feels that it calls on to them, there's something about it, that's great. But if not, who gives a fuck? But
there's plenty of other bands to go around, so yeah.
Yeah, but all of this ties in to the fact that I have around 2018, I was about to graduate university, and there were a lot of questions that I had because I study music engineering. I have a degree in music engineering. And they taught me all of this stuff, but the one thing that they didn't told me that I could do was like choose to help other people release their music, which I thought was very important, because that meant that all of this beautiful music that I was listening to constantly from people that were from around here or in the US or, back home or, in Argentina or whatever, in the Europe, that was just going into the Spotify and the web, being on Bandcamp or whatever, but they would die there because after a month, it's hard to keep up digitally with a lot of stuff. So I think that immediately I noticed like, hey, why is all this music from the 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s still around on everybody's subconscious? Is because physically it's here with us. It's tangible. You could see it. It's it's in all the movies. It's on, it's around you. It's in the, you go to Walmart, there's a Nirvana shirt, right? You go to Target, there's a Pink Floyd shirt. You go to a mall and they sell I don't know, Queen, whatever the fuck you like, shirt. And that's why it lingers, because it lives in a physical world. And also, I hated the fact of how artists gets paid and digitally. So I knew that they had to be, but it's inevitable. You have to have stuff online, but at the same time, it's not a contract when you put your music on Spotify. It's not a contract. So you have to also learn in your head that there's other ways you can make money with your music. And one of those was you're releasing stuff, And to me, there was a friend. Her name is Stefania Kimbauer. And I don't know why. I don't know why she trusted me, but she was like, hey, I'm going to have a show. And I want to do some cassettes. And I remember being in class, like before a class started, and she said, all right, I'll give you the money to make the cassettes. And I ordered them.
Had you done anything like that before, or was that it?
No. That was the first time I had to, like, how do you make it? Blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, right.
Blah, blah, blah. But because I had the idea, but like even a CD, I was like, I'm not going to burn a CD. Like I thought if I burn a CD, like what type of quality am I giving it to someone if I'm just like doing this? So for a cassette, it was the same. It was like sort of like, how do I put the music with it sounding good? And how do I, do the artwork? How do I seal it up? Blah, blah, blah. So I had to learn all that while I bought the cassettes, and I had sent them to a friend's address in the US that first time. And they were arriving, and I had to go to like 50,000 people. Like, hey, do you do pad printing? Do you do a screen printing? Do you do blah, blah, blah? And there was literally no one that wanted to do that job except one guy that I'm still working with all these years. And but cassettes, which this label started with cassettes, like I was saying, I love the format because of three very simple things. First of all, they're easy to carry when you're a musician touring. Yep. Easy to carry. They're going to be cheaper option than perhaps CD or vinyl. You can also include a download code so people can have high resolution files, like for example from Bandcamp, and have two in one, two formats in one, a physical one and a digital one. So that was sort of something that I fell in love with immediately. And, growing up, I had cassettes in the house, and I liked them. I had like Star Trek audiobooks on cassette and shit. But so stuff like that. And we got them made. And it's like, you know what? Like, this looks really good. Like, I'm not gonna lie, this looks pretty great. And I know I can do better, but so far it looked way better than a lot of stuff that I was seeing around, being sold at shows. And I think that there was some demand for cassettes, but like big labels were not doing it yet. That was like 2016, 2017. And because I remember like going to the US, visit family, and then, and like going to a record store and getting cassettes for new stuff. I remember Capture Tracks in Brooklyn, in New York. I remember them always having like cassettes for their artist. I don't know how true that is to like from the beginning, but at least they had it. And I thought that was interesting. So stuff like that really inspired me.
Cassettes are nice because they're like they're accessible to the average person, right? You could just go buy something and make it. How does that go from because it seems like it's a big jump from cassettes to vinyl, right? Yeah,
but well, that's the thing. So I I'm not a rich guy at all. I'm, middle class. And I didn't have any money. So a friend of mine, again, she trusted me. I think, I don't know if she thought that I knew what I was doing.
You just looked
Couldn't.
like a trustworthy guy that would know how to do this.
Yeah, but it's impossible she thought that, because, it's like, how is this, whatever, 19-year-old guy, 20-year-old guy, knows anything about making cassettes this day and age.
Yeah.
So, but she trusted me. And when, I think to the date that it was her show, we got them like finished, and put him in a box. I took a Polaroid of it, because somebody gave me a Polaroid. I still have the Polaroid of the little box that I had, 25 cassettes. It's the day of the show. I am at the show. Every single cassette sold. Every single cassette sold.
Oh, hell yeah. Nice.
So she goes up to me and she said, "Hey, I'm going to have another show like in 2 months. And, this cassettes that I made were for our release that I think she already had put out like maybe a year ago." So she was like, "I have a new show, a new, EP or whatever, and I want to do some cassettes. Can you do them?" And I was like, "Yes." And she gave me the money there, because she sold all of them, and she already profited from it, and then invested back again. Here's your cassette. And then a guy came by and it was like, "Hey, do you make these cassettes?" And it's like, "Yes." It's like, "How much do you charge?" And on top of my head, I was just like, this. And he's like, "I need 100." And I was like, "All right." And he paid me. And then I ordered some more, and I did his cassettes, and I did my friends. Those sold out. And then this other guy got me all this stuff. So I started doing that for like a year and a half.
Like, dub these cassettes? Did you just have like a double tape deck or something? Or
No. I got extremely lucky. You have no idea how lucky I got. That the day that we were just like beginner's luck, or whatever you want to call it, the day that we wanted to start doing this, we went to Facebook Market, beautiful old Facebook Market, and somebody was selling equipment, and one of that was a professional cassette duplicator. And it costed me like perhaps like $25 more than we got paid to do the cassettes. So that was the whole investment. It was like we didn't gain anything from making those first cassettes.
Yeah.
And then, but we got paid the day that we get paid to move more. So we got back from the investment, and we started doing them. And that machine still going, and we got 2 more. So it was a very weird moment in like place and time, and it was. So we started doing that, and immediately I started noticing a lot of bands from Mexico, that I thought, again, they were great. They were doing great on Instagram. They were doing great on Facebook back then, Spotify. They were doing great. YouTube. They put up a video and immediately, and there was a lot of like Bandcamp type stuff or like eBay type stuff happening here in Mexico during that time. That was very easy to just put stuff out like merch and sell it. So I took advantage of that, and I was like, "Hey, this band from over there, I have this little amount of money, but I'm going to invest all of it in like releasing your record." So first release, I did 25 for someone, 25 for the same person. And
are we talking vinyl now, or are we?
No, cassette, purely cassette right now. Okay. And then all of a sudden, I said, "You know what? I want to put something out from another band."
Mm-hmm.
So the first time we did that was a hybrid. Was like the band put some money and we put some money, and we did 100, right? And we kept, I think we split it both ways. So we had like 50-50 cassettes. And those were not selling that well, but I was like, shit. And then I sold those at cost. So I got the money back, and I was like, well, you know what? I want to do this, and I invested in another band, and that one almost like the same week we put it out got sold out,
Oh, nice.
and we sold 100, right? 100 cassettes, which was like how, like why, like great, you know, but like how is this happening to us? Because we used to be two guys in the label, um, and we did that, and then the age old question: how do we do records? Because I was already collecting records. Uh, I would get all the money my dad would send me. You know, once a month he would send me money for a supermarket. You know, and I would buy anything and everything except food. I was a lot skinnier back then, by the way, and I think that
Who needs food when you got that, you know, other cool stuff to worry about?
yeah, like, I remember like buying like I don't know, like the Vendra Van Hart CD, and it was like way more than my weekly budget. And because I used to go like from where I was living at to the university and back, and one Friday or one Thursday, whatever, we would like go out, and then if we hang around, it was in our apartment, and that's so it was cheaper. It was not like nothing was like that expensive during that time. But so I saved up a lot and used to invest in records, blah blah blah. So I said I want to release this cassette that we just released on vinyl. How do I do that? And I started going to like pressing plans, blah blah blah. And the least amount of records that I saw anybody would make was 100. But man, that was like way more than I could do. It was like I can't do that.
Yeah.
So what we did was I went on Reddit, and I was on Reddit, and a guy was like, "Hey, what's your budget?" Because I asked around, "Hey, what's your budget?" And I said like $0, and the guy was like, "Well, I have to charge you something, but what I'll do is I'll press 50 records for you, 50." And I was like, "All right." And then he basically just charged me what the base was for. He had a independent pressing plant that he wanted to started rolling out, and I think that it appealed to him that I was from that I was living here in Mexico. He was like, "Oh, I have international clientele now, right?" Blah blah blah. So he gave me that offer. I took it. We did 50, and the band I think was around. The band is called back then it used to be called Rotten Daisies. Now they're called the same name, but in Spanish called Margaritas Podridas. And I remember like kids sending me messages like on Facebook or on Instagram and being like, "Hey, I'm going to ask my mom if I can buy the record. Is it okay if I pay like $10 right now? And then like next week I'll pay like 5." And I was just so happy to fucking sell records in general. I was like, yeah, of course. So I would write them down, like actually write them down, and like this person owes me blah blah blah. And I got this from like the convenience store, like the 7-Eleven. They would like deposit me money from there, and I would have like checks on everyone. But they sold out. It was like a month or something like that. I even got to send some to stores. Well, at least one
How
store.
are you promoting this at all? Like, how are
No,
people
no,
even
no, no, no. It was just word of mouth. Like again, it was just sort of like being there at the right time, I guess.
Yeah.
But I only work with that band. I only worked on their first record, but there were a lot of bands from that era. That's called Sonora. Sonora, famous place here, state here. But there were a lot of bands doing a lot of stuff. So I started working with them. And for example, this band that I'm telling you, they tour the U.S. a lot. They've toured Europe now. Even Sub Pop Records, because they're a grunge band. Sub Pop Records released 1 7-inch from them.
Oh, nice.
So I think I released them before Sub Pop. So you can say
you
that.
put them on the map.
Yeah, I don't know about that, but I at least help a little bit, I guess. But
so how closely do you work with the bands and stuff? I mean, when you select,
it's directly, yeah, it's 100% directly.
That's cool.
I've never done a deal where it's not like 100% directly.
Yeah,
I try to do that again because the mission of my label, Aurora Central, it's the fact that we want to help directly, like the bands, like no middleman, no anything. I want the band to tell me, hey, you know what? I paid gas with that record I sold. I paid a meal. I paid an Airbnb. I paid, I don't know, anything. Just I paid my mom a gift. I gifted myself a pedal or a guitar or a bass, anything. That feels great. That feels like, and the way we normally work at the label is that when it comes down to numbers, we normally split like profits. We split it like normally like 50-50. The band normally gets a little more because I have to sell it to stores, and you have to sell everything lower than retail price. So wholesale price is sometimes weird. But I think that it is always like an interesting place to be here because unlike the US, here in Mexico, sometimes most big labels are only focused on legacy artist type stuff. It's like if somebody has 30 years in the business, that's what they want to listen to. And that's great and all, but something that I really like about Europe, about the US, it's like, what's new? Give it to me. Like everybody wants to feel like what's the best next thing that's going to come up, right, and be on the lookout and stuff like that. And no one is doing that here in Latin America. Well, now I think there's a lot of people doing it, but back then I thought there's no one looking at all this great music that is thrown on my Instagram, on my Facebook, on my email. It's just all these music that I think it's great that people deserve to listen to.
So just on that note,
yeah,
are you kind of discovering these bands off social media and stuff, and then you're working out a deal with them and you're pressing vinyl?
Yeah.
Okay.
There are a lot of
these bands come from. Are you reissuing stuff or
Yeah, a little bit of everything. I would say that Bandcamp is a great place. If you go to Bandcamp, you can you split? Can I do that?
Yeah, sure. You can share a screen and then I can throw it up.
Share a screen. Yeah, let's go to Bandcamp, but the normal Bandcamp.
You want to get to some of these questions, Jose? I know we've been vibing out. I want to.
Yeah, let me just get this. This will answer at least one. So
okay.
Let me. How do I present? What is it? Share screen. And now, how do I do that? Oh, Bandcamp. If you like physical media, if you want to discover music, Bandcamp, I would highly suggest it at least once every few whatevers. Please do. Bandcamp.com. I'm guessing 99% of the people here have listened about it, but I don't know if everyone has ever go in and try to buy something. So this is the main page. You can see it, right? Yeah. All right.
Yep.
So if you go down, you can see a lot of stuff. Like people like these records that are appearing here, somebody's buying it. Like it says like somebody bought it in the US 8 seconds ago, right?
Yeah.
Like Kingdom, blah, blah, blah. So upcoming live events are normally like new releases that are getting like published and you can like stream it along with the artist. Bandcamp Daily, you know, great stuff. But here it says start digging, right? Genres and tags. So for example, give me a genre you see here. There's electronic, experimental, rock, ambient, drone, rap. You know, let's go. I don't know. Let's go noise, right? So that's what I like. And then you get noise, and then you can get a subgenre, right? Or let's do something more the people here might like. Let's do rock, just basic rock, right? So you can get rock, and you can go indie rock, right? And then you can choose from only digital, vinyl, that at least is on vinyl, compact disc, cassettes, or they have merch, T-shirts, or whatever. So you can go to vinyl, and you can see like, you know, like pretty well-known stuff like Death Heaven. It's here, Mono, but you can go through here and look for music. So I think that's important. So maybe rock gets like, you know, like too common, but if you go to pop and you go to noise pop, they have a lot of great subgenres, by the way. So if you don't know anything, you know,
Jangle pop.
what?
Jangle pop. I saw.
I don't know what that is. Jangle pop, right? So here you go, and you select vinyl, and well, Always is here, which pretty famous band now. So there's a lot of stuff, and it's stuff that you might not know that's here. You know, for anybody to listen to. So you go to their page, and you select their records, and you can see them and buy the records. I think that's pretty great.
Yeah, Bandcamp's a great resource. I mean, famously, there's been really artists that have blown up massively that started on Bandcamp, right? Just making their own stuff.
Yeah, Frankie Cosmos is one that I always champion, or Car Seat Headrest.
Isn't that how Billie Eilish started too, I thought?
I don't know specifically if her, but at least those other two that I told you, that you know, were pretty popular. But again, that's a great way. Discogs is always great, but what I'll say is another great way, and something that I do a lot is please follow the venues you normally go to and look up the artists that are on playing there. You know, if you see it more than once on a bill, there's a reason you probably might like, you know, the music they play.
Yeah.
Just if you like a venue around your wherever you like or whatever, or I don't know, if you've never been to LA, but you know, like Whiskey a Go Go or some shit like that, and you're like, oh, all these bands that they play there, follow them, and if a band plays there and it caught your attention, listen to them. You know, it's that simple. It shouldn't be that. There's a lot of great and powerful and small business and whatever labels that are releasing great music by great artists that you might love and you don't know about it. And
Right.
I believe 100% that there's great music right now that is amazing and better than anything and underrated and whatever you want to call it happening that is worth your attention. I think that Bandcamp is a great tool. Yes, they do Bandcamp Friday, which is not every first Friday of every month, but it's every 1 or 2 months they do this thing called Bandcamp Friday, which all their revenue goes directly to the artist. Only April takes a part, but you know what I mean. But it's a great platform to start selling your stuff. That's where my label, where I sell most of my stuff, I sell it on Bandcamp because I think it's a great platform Also, it's great if you have a band and someone like me starts selling your merch, because I can put up merch and you can put up merch, and they can go to different PayPal accounts. So it's like
Oh,
everything's like
very nice.
clean,
Take
blah
care
blah
of all
blah.
the back end stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And if I'm helping the band ship records, right, to people that buy it, I can get their info, blah blah blah. And it's only me on the label right now, so sometimes it's a little underwhelming with the shipping. But what I'll say is that there are great resources. Follow record stores on Instagram. Um, Go to a record store, and everybody here that's watching this video probably has gone to a record store where they can like look at one artist and like, I know what that is, and that's great. You shouldn't be afraid of that. You should be like confident enough that you're like, I don't know any of these bands. Where's the hip hop section? Let me go check it out. Oh, look, they're sampling, I don't know, like and somebody says, oh, that's like DA Shadow type beat. Oh, all right, or whatever, right? You should at least give it a chance. If you have your phone and you have the possibility of getting Spotify, YouTube Music, blah blah blah, or just ask them if they could play it on the speakers or whatever. Well, that's a little annoying, but you know what I mean.
I'm always doing that. I always got my phone on. I got like Discogs
Yeah,
on one tab. I got eBay on another tab. I got,
yeah.
all music and Spotify. It's like, it's a whole
But
thing, right? When you're in a record store.
I think something that I do a lot, and I recommend it. I recommend people doing it, at least, because I don't want people to waste or feel that they are wasting their money. But you should maybe not blind buy something, but be out of your comfort zone and buy one record that you're not familiar with. If somebody tells you, "Hey, this sounds like Captain Beefheart," great. Let me hear it. And if you go home and you hate it, sell it, or trade it, blah blah blah, return it, whatever you want to do. But try it out. Uh, Whatever, because I think that there's a lot of great curation being done on record stores, and you should take advantage of the fact that record store clerks, record store owners, people that work there are always, somebody said, etc. Is that the numero group reissue that just came out? Anyways, I think that people
Well, and
should
we have
always,
the resources now in 2025, something that we didn't have 30 years ago, right? Where bands were just going to exist in obscurity, and there was no way really to like hear these guys or and if it wasn't something that was going to get popular and a major label was going to pick up. Now
yeah.
you're in an
But that's the
ecosystem where
thing.
you've got Bandcamp and you're pressing the stuff on wax, and like that's something that didn't exist.
No, but and again, there are a lot of artists that are going to keep being big, that they have their stuff done very different from what they used to be. For example, everybody here has heard me talk about King Gizzard, right? But King Gizzard is a great story of success, because they started out putting their music out, and all of a sudden they started selling burned CDs from their house and cassettes, and then they released a vinyl record, and it sold out. And then the next record they put out, they put it up on vinyl, and all of a sudden, when they reach this sort of fame with Nonagon Infinity, all their back catalog now is like $300, $500, because
Yeah.
everybody wants it, because they only press 300, 500 copies with, 10,000 people wanting them, so
Yeah.
it became something they really wanted. And they had their own label back then, and right now they have distribution, but they have their own label where they release their own music. And they're so prolific that they even put out official bootlegs, that they call it, that they professionally record all their shows and put them up
Oh, nice.
for anyone to do a bootleg. That's why on the VC people are like, oh, they keep releasing records every day, and it's not that. It's that they let fans and other labels to put out music by them. I've done too, and so it's stuff like that. Like, oh, somebody played in Portland, right? Oh shit, I want to Seattle. Oh shit, I went to that one, or I'm a label from over there. You can release it and feel like I can do 100 and sell it, and they don't ask you anything. You don't even have to give them copies if you don't want, but I encourage it, and they sell it on their own store they have. But it's things like that. They kept at it. They're an independent band, very successful. You can get the records anywhere on the planet, but they're still an independent band. And so stuff like that, there are labels that have that one band that blows up and goes to another label, or blows up and stays on their label, and you can still feel this sort of like continuation of your musical journey. It doesn't matter what your age is, where you come from. If you have curiosity, if you like Steely Dan, man, there's so many bands right now that want to emulate Steely Dan sound, or that doesn't sound at all like Steely Dan, that you might like because they're nicely recorded. Like a very small detail. Well, not a small detail, but like a detail from Steely Dan that you might correlate, right? Oh, I want it to sound incredible. Well, you might like something just because of that, right? Like bad, not good. Oh, I like jazz, but I want to see what's new. Oh, it's Kamasi Washington. Oh, is that the guy that recorded sax on Kendrick Lamar? Yes. Oh, blah blah. All right. So stuff like
Have
that.
you had any bands ask you if you could record them? Have you thought about? Has that
No, I've
crossed your
recorded.
minds at all?
We
Oh, you
yeah.
have.
Well, I'm an audio engineer, so I've been both in the studio and post production and stuff like that. So yeah, a little bit of everything. Um, but and again, I've had the pleasure of working with a lot of artists. Right now, I'm doing a lot of new music, right? But also reissuing things that previously had never been released on vinyl,
Mm.
or on CD, or on cassette, or all the other. There was only ever released locally somewhere on CD. So stuff like that, I'm focusing on that, on music that I like, on artists from around the world. That I would say, like, just ask. It's not that complicated. It gets to a point that you might have released something that someone on the other end might have liked, you know,
Right.
and that's enough. Like, you don't have to have anything else done, but release something that somebody else enjoys, something that somebody else think it's cool, and you can't do anything about it, but sometimes it happens, and you just feel good that whatever type of genre of music you're getting into, if you like a band, that's the only reason you should feel comfortable with investing with them. But also, always know how much you should invest. We in Aurora Central, we do 300 copies most of the times. Or like, we've done more and we've done less, but we've done 100 releases, which is not a bad thing. But sometimes you have to know, like, hey, if you don't have money, if you don't have the money to invest in it, do less. That's why I love cassettes, because it helped me start releasing stuff, and one day I got enough to release 50 vinyl records, and those records are very much in demand. The band has never reissued that material, and it goes for quite a bit of money, and which is good. Hopefully I can reissue those records.
Have you done
But
anything with your band now? Have you recorded anything and pressed it,
yeah,
or are
yeah.
you thinking of doing it? Or
No, we have a full album recorded.
oh, nice.
We but that's the thing, man. Like this year, I said, you know what? After almost 8 years or whatever of this label, last month I released. Well, the beginning of this month actually, I released my music for the first time on my label.
Oh, hell yeah, dude! Is it on Bandcamp? How do we buy it?
Yeah, it's on Bandcamp, but it's also on Spotify, Apple Music. What's the other one? Chris asked me for that
Title,
link.
title,
What? Yeah,
title.
Tidal. It's on Tidal. It's called Sonido 13, and the song is called Ave. There's also a video on YouTube. You can watch the video on YouTube. But yeah, Sonido 13.
So that's the band, right? Yeah. So I'll keep that up.
Yeah, thanks. So, but you can check it out. The song's called Ave, Ave, which means bird, I guess.
Can we play it?
Maybe in the end.
I don't
In
want
the
to
end.
put you on the spot, dude.
No, that's fine. But it's the first song. It's one of the calmer songs. And what's interesting is that we're keeping recording. So this music, we still play some of these songs, but some of these songs are even like 4 or 5 years that we started recording it. Because
Wow.
it was during the pandemic, and I was just like, let's record, but I didn't thought of anything like a record.
Yeah.
Like a year ago, that I was like, you know what, that's a record. I started recording some stuff, and that's a record. So of all the material we recorded, I came up with these songs, and then
So you just put out your first album this month, right? On wax.
Yes, I'm gonna put it up on vinyl, but we just released the first.
Seriously,
Yeah.
dude, that's
It
huge.
was-
Congratulations, dude.
Thanks, but it feels weird because I think for most people that owns labels that they are also musicians, it feels weird to release their own music because I don't want people to feel like they have to listen to me because I own the label, or I don't want anybody to think that I want them to listen to my music because somehow all this music you like has something to do with this. No, it doesn't.
Right.
So it's a weird feeling, but I take it as a you know what, it's music that I feel proud, which I normally don't feel that about myself, but I feel proud about this music, and I'm very happy to just sort of exist basically, and be able to record with the my band right now. We just did a show on Saturday, and I'm gonna upload tomorrow. We have a YouTube channel, Sonido 13. So if you look for the video tomorrow, we're putting up a video of one of the songs, the same single but live. But anyways, yes, it just feels sometimes weird, but I decided this year to focus on my music because I just turned 30. I feel like 25 because you have no idea how much I got depressed when the pandemic started.
Mm.
I felt like we started having momentum with a lineup that we had back then, with a different name, and it's sort of like it just felt like this is never going to end. And though I started getting into more about the label, and we released a lot of great stuff, but again, I didn't put anything out. I was so scared that I thought people are wanting to only gonna be able to listen to like bands that they already know, and all this new music's gonna fucking die during the pandemic.
Yeah.
I don't want to do a pandemic live from my house type shit because I thought I was a little bit weird. But
Like DJ Jazzy Jeff was doing, man. That was fun.
yeah, somebody has 2 questions. The great questions. Can I answer one?
Yeah. Which one?
Paul, send me a message.
So do you,
I
do you
have
have any leftover copies of, I don't know how to say
Diles,
that.
Diles que no me maten. Yeah, tell them to not kill me. It's a short story, and it's a great band that they call their band like that. Uh, I think I have a test pressing if you're interested in that, Paul, because the record sold out very
Oh,
fast.
very
But
nice.
send me a message.
And then
Uh,
Perfect Prescription
well,
says,
and you know what? There's a guy that asked me if they could cancel their order, so send me a message. Anyways, sorry.
awesome. Yeah, and then a question for Jose. How did you end up issuing the Merzbow albums on AC?
Oh, and yeah, and Aurora Central. So this Japanese artist called Merzbow, and how do I started working with him? I just asked him straight up. I wrote him an email and I said, "Hey, I absolutely love your music. You remember that link that I told you that the guy from the CD place uh, couldn't link to like stuff that I would later. He was so close. Like when he started doing like the 9 Inch Nail things, he could have said, "Do you like this? This is called industrial music." Oh, so the first wave of industrial music was these bands, Throwing Gristle, and you can definitely get a connection. Sonic Youth, and Sonic Youth has a bunch of record with experimental artists. Sonic Youth had a label called Sonic Youth Records that are very good. They're very cheap to get. Everybody should get them. Sonic experimentation, a lot of great stuff. Jim O'Rourke is there, playing with them during the Sonic Youth era, and I think a little before as well. But so he has a record with this Japanese artist called Merzbow, and I got it from one of those, like Goodwill type deals, and it was sort of music that I was not prepared. It immediately hit me like there's so many stuff out there that I have no idea what it is. And as soon as I figure all that out, I started listening to a lot of out there music, if you want to call it like that. But it's sonic experimentation, it's music experimentation, it's the fact of getting into a place and figuring out the edges of music. How much can you get close to that edge? And if you succeed, it's great. If you go over the edge, sometimes it's glorious, sometimes it's catastrophe. But I know that there's great music that has form and rhythm and all of this, but there's something about the actual action of people wanting to break that mold. Just being in a studio, hey, my string sort of like detune. That's new tuning. Use it. Oh, it sounds funny. Great. Use that. Because as soon as you, even in pop music, there's always this synth sound that you like relate to a specific artist. There's this, like Biko on Peter Gabriel, right, with the gated reverb drums, right? That everybody in the '80s tried to. That was originally on his record, and people copying it, and it gets diluted in this sort of swamp of like sounds. But it's sort of like experimentation. It's great. I think naturally every artist in the world that is a musician or not wants to do it. Even people that are not even musicians can make music that's called outsider music. And sometimes, again, it's glorious. Sometimes it's catastrophic or whatever.
Well, it's like
But
every great breakthrough came from experimentation, right? It
yeah,
comes from taking a risk, and then, yeah, like you said, you can fall on your face, or something really exciting could come out of it, and then move the needle again. I think it's
yeah,
interesting that when you started all this, you said that you were playing on a 3-string guitar, which
yeah.
reminded me of what's his name? Is it Brian Wilson from the Beat 52s that played guitar guys that passed away? I think that's who his name was. But
The guy
something
from Presidents of the United States has a 3-string.
Yeah, and he plays like a 3-string. I think when he first started, he
Yeah.
talks about picking up and playing a 3 strings on the guitar, a very unique sound on those early B-52s albums, which I adore, and a lot of people try to emulate it now. But anyway, so I just think it's interesting that you
And they,
start there, and here you are, like, however many years later,
yeah.
still embracing that, experimentation.
Well, but again, and they're great 3-string players. Bill Orcutt sometimes plays with 3, sometimes play with 4 strings. He had a band called Harry Pussy, which is a great noise band. Great name, by the way. But Harry, like in Harry the name, right? But right. But I think that and something that I really love about like experimental music, it's very open and very welcoming to anyone. It's a genre that there's a lot of people from every corner of the world, every sexual orientation, every religion, non-belief system, anything just coming together, very peaceful. It's sort of like when you hear about like horror movies and how like every horror movie actor is like super nice and friendly and stuff like that. It's just, I don't know what it is, but it's sort of beautiful to sometimes break out of the mold and feel secure in a place that you can keep doing it, which is sort of like something that I do in my label. I With all the artists that I work with, I have no rules whatsoever. If they want to release something with me, the only thing that I want is for them to like it, basically. I mean, I of course I have a certain what do you call that, curation, right? Of course, I'm not gonna release something that it has absolutely nothing to do with stuff that I released before. But if I like it, I might. You know, we've
Yeah.
done soundtracks. We did a Nosferatu, the 1922 Nosferatu movie soundtrack played live before even the movie was the newly
Right.
station got
Oh,
even
that's cool.
so stuff like that. We've done boxing documentary from here. We've done a lot of interesting things, but I don't say no to them because again, I feel that right now independent labels should welcome that from an artist, which is, hey, I have this record, great, let's put it out, and not for them to feel pressure. I've never, if they don't want to post about it, great. Even in the beginning when we used to do cassettes, we didn't put our logo or our name. There's no way to know if it was a release by
Oh,
us.
really?
Yes, because I asked them, hey, if I mean, we're putting it out and we're selling some copies, but if you don't want anybody to know about that, like that's fine. And some artists would be like, you know what, like I don't want to put a logo. Is that okay? I was like,
Oh,
yeah,
really?
yeah. But again, because the idea, well, right now if we put it right, of course,
Right, right.
but at the beginning it was sort of like some stuff would have been released if it was like that. I don't own everything we've ever put out
I remember you
because
saying that you're sort of on the hunt, right, for a
yes,
handful of records.
yeah, yeah. There's some stuff that I definitely have never seen again. That I have even asked the artist, like, hey, can I trade some stuff for you for that copy? No, I only have one. All right, all right.
Uh,
Um, I've had to buy back some stuff. There's a guy that moved, and I buy some records that he bought from me from like. He's not even like that close of a friend. He was just like, he followed me on Instagram and I follow him back, and then I saw he's moving and he was like selling some stuff, and I asked him, hey, are you selling those records that I sold you like back then? And he was like, yes. Uh, and he sold them to me. So again, I feel that now more than ever, if you feel inclined to listen to music, I think that we're not that far away as you might think we are from like embracing this type of music. I know I normally like go to the podcast and talk about like all the stuff that I don't like, but there's a lot of stuff that I do like, and there's a lot of stuff that I don't like that I know a lot about. You know, like I don't know. Again, I'm not bashing any Pearl Jam, but like I know probably all the records. I know most their songs, but it's not a band that I wanna, I don't listen to. But again, it's sort of that 14-year-old kid that one listened to it and listened to all the discography and knows it, as much as I still know Grateful Dead, right? A band that you and I like. And again, has to do a lot with experimentation. Every song sounded differently. No set list was alike. Covers left and right, band members dead and alive. Huh? But in stuff like that,
as soon as you say like when you were talking about the experimentation, and sometimes it falls flat, sometimes it's magical. Grateful Dead exemplifies that idea, right? And their fan base trust them enough because they know that the potential for something special to be there could happen, and so they had this relationship. A lot of bands probably don't have that. People want to hear the record when they go see a live show, right?
Yeah, exactly. And again, I think there are genres that are a little bit easier to fall in love with. Again, I know it's scary to think of like experimental music, electronic music, because even for me, like for example, me with electronic music, when I was a kid, I thought electronic music was only like, house and EDM and
right.
stuff like that. And then immediately you're like, well, no, and then you get introduced to a lot of great labels from England that you're like, oh wow, that like Warp or Mute Records, that I just genre define stuff that I and there are labels that it doesn't matter what they release, I might like it. There's Dragster from the US, which is probably my favorite label from the US, Drag City Records. And just giving it a try. There's another great way of listening to new music if you're in the US. There are two great YouTube shows that you can pretty much the most popular music shows, at least on this side of the world, are Tiny Desk Concert by NPR, which you name it, it's there. Right now, I used to like it a little more back then because they used to be more like up and coming bands. Right now, it's like well established bands that are
right. They've kind of they grew out of that a little bit.
And now it's a set. It used to be like the actual thing, and now it's like an actual set on a floor that there's nothing else by that. Anyways, but and then there's KXP, the radio station from Seattle, and a lot of artists that I've put music out have played there, and I have friends that play there. Los Mundos, Diles que no me maten, Mave Frati. A lot of these bands that I work with have played over there. And it's always interesting. And they come here now in Mexico and they do once a year for a festival. They do sessions. So, again, there's great music and they invite artists. I would say like KXP still strongly doing that, like getting artists from around the world in general, various genres, very open-minded about it. Great way of learning about music. If they're already in KXP, more than likely they already have like vinyl out or at least CD, or at least they're touring around you, because there's a lot of great bands from Latin America that are touring. I started this label to tell people that we don't listen to fucking cha-cha-cha and salsa music. There's a lot of great music from here, from all eras around that. Salsa was actually invented in New York, so it's not even from here. But You know, so I guess that there's a little bit of everything here, but there are a lot of interesting and well worth the time acts that are happening here. And my objective is, if I can help at least 1%, just putting it out there and exist in, and somebody can actually like have it, you know, around and pull it out and listen to it and enjoy it in their house. And it's a Sunday, and you want to put music on. And if somebody has a big collection, if somebody has a small collection, if that's the first record they ever bought, which is something that I personally, there's no bigger, like, most heartwarming thing I've ever heard, that somebody saying, this is my first record I ever bought.
Wow. Yeah.
And it feels great. It's sort of like, well, I hope, you know, you keep at it, and if you don't, at least enjoy it. You know, if you don't have a record player, ask a friend if they can get a record player. It doesn't matter if they have a Crossley. It doesn't matter if they have the world's best audio setup. I feel great when people support an artist and they enjoy the music and they can actually earn something from it, rather than just waiting to see if Spotify ever pays them more than $10 for something. Because that's the thing. They lie to you and tell you, hey, look at this platform. Your song, right? Your song, it's in this platform where Paul McCartney is in. Oh, wow, right?
Right.
But it's not true. You're never going to get in that algorithm unless you tell somebody that you exist. So again, if you know, I'm more than happy if anybody wants to listen to our song, wants to get into what we put out. But you know, there might be at least one thing we've released. You have no idea. I've released pop music, electronic music. I've released noise, a lot of noise, jazz. I'm working on some reissues that from artists from here, from Latin America, that you know, they're in their 60s, they're in their 70s, 80s, and I feel that right now it's the time that they've actually started getting recognition. Which, can you imagine that? Like, you've been doing music at it all your life, and it's when you're in your 70s that people are like, hey, look at that guy. So,
Yep.
so again, I wanna do that. I wanna help out while, you know, artists from all ages are still here, and that since I'm still here, I want to keep at it, and even if it's a grain of salt, you know, it might become a bigger thing. I just think that people in the VC or wherever people are listening to this, maybe not VC related, right? Not in the vinyl community, but there's great music. It doesn't matter how old you are, how young you are, how old you feel, how young you feel. There is music out there. If you like jazz, believe me, there are plenty of jazz you've never heard from all corners of the world. If you like jazz and you've never heard these very, very noisy Swedish jazz artists, you're missing out, because that's great energy. If you like free jazz and you've never heard, I don't know, you know, I don't know, but I'm trying to think of something
Well,
that you
it's
might.
like Spotify or these streaming platforms are of good service. I think a lot of people use them, right? Is that find bands that are like the ones that you already like. And you can do that in jazz, you can do that in, you know, anything. But
Yeah.
I love that you're pointing out a resource like Bandcamp that takes it to another level, right?
This is great. This is good jazz from here.
Oh yeah, very cool. So I mean, dude, I love what you're doing, man. I love the message. I love that and it seems like it's across the board. I mean, with your band, with your label, it's really just that exploration. The label is supporting other people like you that are just trying to do what they're passionate about and they love, and get their music out there for other people to at least make the choice whether they want to hear it or not. just get some kind of distribution so that people can have a choice. Vinyl Piper said, can you recommend some El Salvadorian psych from 60s and 70s?
Yeah, let me get it. Wait. I have a lot of records from my country. Like I said, I started collecting them because I got very nostalgic, but now I'm in the point that I can actually like tell you like what's good and what's bad, not just because it's from over there, you know. Which I guess at one point I did do it a lot, which is not good. But let me grab some more. I'm gonna grab a whole bunch and just like go like.
Oh yeah.
Wait. There's a lot of very weird stuff here.
Thanks, Final Dreamscape. That's cool. Yeah, I agree, man. Jose stuff is great, and again, everything he's talking about here, since we've had this conversation, is true to form, and with his music and stuff like that, very experimental, very sort of, it's going to be something that you don't hear every day, and that's really cool. And his passion is still there, and the exploration is there, which is really important and cool.
You know, at least once a week, you should get weirded out and get out of your comfort zone. Because again, just because you don't know it doesn't mean that you don't like it.
Exactly.
So think of it the most simplest of way. There are a lot of bands that you like that will release more music that you don't know. So just think of it as sort of like this other band might have something I like. It's just it takes the same type of fate, basically, you know. But so this is the camera angle is a little.
Yeah, here, let me do this. Let me. Yeah. There we go.
Yeah. All right, let me put it over here. There's more lighting. So this is Los Vikings that I always show. I show this record constantly. But this is a 60s garage band from El Salvador that I think they're really great. I have 3 copies of it because it's so hard to get. You know,
Vinyl Piper will be reaching out to you, I'm sure.
No, I would never sell these. But this is like near mint. This is the U.S. version, but and these are from El Salvador. But very interesting because in El Salvador there was a lot of garage, rock, psychedelic music that was being pressed both in El Salvador and in the U.S., which is not normally the norm, I guess, right? Because you normally don't hear like from stuff from other countries being pressed at the same time in the U.S. that it's not Europe or the UK, you know. So I just feel that
English speaking stuff.
This one, there's one copy for like $250 right now on eBay, but this is psychedelic music from the late 60s. There's also like a little bit of like what's the name, Big Brother and the Holding Company type stuff happening on the last track. Of course, I didn't buy it for that. I got it in El Salvador, so I got it for like $30. But really good. I actually didn't have a jacket over there to bring it home, so I got it in this Winham Hill Records and tape. If somebody knows what this is, they're gonna have a little chuckle. But that's pretty great. This is another stuff. This one, for example, if you like 50s type music, this is called Very Very Well by Lito Barrientos y su orquesta. This is a reissue from what label? I think it's from Spain, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, Vampistol. Yeah, from Spain. But like all the information is in English.
So is that a reissue then?
Yeah, this is a reissue. I have an original one, but I haven't brought it here to Mexico. But this is like orchestra type big band, but also like rock and roll, 50s type rock and roll music that I feel it's very lovely for like a Sunday music type situation.
So people can actually maybe get their hands on it then. Since
yeah, you can get these records. I'll show some stuff that you can actually get. I collect a lot of like protest music from my country because again, you have no idea. Like I always say, if you think it's hard to get a record in the US from a US band, getting records from my country, it's so damn difficult because there was a war happening, and the people were not like holding on to these things while the war was happening.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
It was sort of like if somehow it exists, it's great.
That's wild.
This is the same band that I showed at the beginning. It's called Vikings in Spanish, but it's you can say it in English, Vikings.
Right.
But this is the hardest to get record of the three. There's a dumbass that wants to sell it for like $1,000. Of course, it's not worth that, but a little hard to get. Let me show you something that you can get. These compilations, I think they're great. There's a little bit of everything because they were the 60s and the 70s. These were pressed in the U.S. Again, you can find them. There's a great store in San Francisco called Discodelic. They're in San Francisco, and they have a YouTube channel where they do like live DJing. They are incredibly produced. It sounds amazing, and it's mostly music that you probably never heard from around the globe, but it's very much it's worth it a lot. But interestingly enough, the girl that owns that store used to sell me records when I was 14.
Oh, wow.
So if you live, she's very young still. She was probably like 18 when she had that store. So, she's probably like 30 something right now. But
can you send me that link and I'll share it in this video, like once we're done.
The Discodelica one?
Yeah.
Discodelica.
YouTube where they stream their
and they were just in South by Southwest. Like a pop-up store there. So again, it's not hard to get. It's not incredibly. They do reissues of like very hard to get stuff. It's not underground stuff that I'm saying. Can I try to post it? I think not. Right?
It's not. Yeah, there you go. Cool.
Yeah, can you see it? But in the actual chat. If not, I send it on the private chat. But that's
put it in private too. I see it in chat. I think people
can
see it.
The girl that is on that video, she used to sell me records. Majo Salguero. She used to sell me records when I was like 14. And she does this like hour-long of just records from El Salvador. That I think you should check it out. It's a DJ set of music you've never heard. Very much gets you going, groovy stuff to work it. But they have a store again in San Francisco that I think it's worth it. They don't only sell music from Latin America, but they have a great selection, of course, for sure. But look, I collect stuff from my country when it was the war, but from other parts of the world. This is from France. So it's the same band that I showed a few records before. Yeah, right? Yeah. It's the same record, but pressed in France.
Oh, wow.
For funds not in the chat. Yeah, you have to post it again. All right.
It should be. I think it's there now. Yeah, I reposted it.
All right. But so stuff like that, I try to collect. I think this is one of my favorite records of all time. Doesn't matter what it is. Look at the cover. It's a bunch of ice melting. It's called hielo ardiente, which means like hot ice, I guess. Like, but this is like, I don't know how to, maybe like funky. If you like funk music from El Salvador, these are really hard to get records, but it's on Spotify definitely, and it's on YouTube. And their first record, they were the first band, and to this day, the only band that's ever released a record in Warner Brothers from Central America.
Oh, really?
Yeah, their first record. But I think a little bit of everything.
Mark Boyd says it's like Cambodian, Iranian, etc. Music from the past, so much is just gone. It's something that's hard to appreciate in the U.S., right? A lot of these other countries have been through some serious stuff, and that stuff is just gone.
Yeah, again, because just finding these records, VG plus condition, it's almost impossible.
Yeah.
Like getting a record G plus, like these records that I show you first. This is a G plus record. Well, no, this one is VG, but this one with the writing in the corner, this one is G plus, and that was the first copy that I found, and I was extremely happy. And with even on this condition, it sells for a lot. Again, because it's impossible, you can't find it. This is the US version. This one is near mint, which is the first time that I've ever heard these songs nicely.
Right.
But also, for example, you can get this on Discogs. It was pressed in, I think, Germany. It's sort of a bootleg. I don't have no actual, but it's all in English. So you can see there. So it's psych music. It's a psych music collection. 60s garage from El Salvador. Fuera de Atracción.
That's cool. Wow.
Which this is a song by Blue Cheer.
Oh, really?
Out of Focus or something like that. But they covered it, and it's the drummer singing. These guys are these guys, and that guy right there, he was 13 years old.
I was gonna say he looks super young, man.
Yeah, he was 13 years old, and he was in a garage band in the 60s, in El Salvador, and that song. But again, this is a great compilation. You can get it on Discogs. You could probably get it from stores in the U.S. On Discogs, but the whole information, it's in English and in Spanish, and it gets like photos from. This is incredibly hard to get stuff, and somebody got like the cleanest copies or the master tapes, and they did this. But I think it's wonderful. It's something that I'm trying to do with some bands from over there to actually like. Let me.
That might be a really good place to start for people, right? To kind of discover some other stuff and see where they want to go.
Yeah, but again, there's a lot of great stuff from over there. I think El Salvador and Costa Rica were the two countries in Central America that had a lot of great music. But again, I buy a lot from these records in the U.S. Like this one I got in the U.S., which is a compilation of. This is the label. Discos de El Salvador, maybe, yeah, Discos de Centroamérica y Discos de El Salvador, that they used to put. So it's the same bands that I show you from the other comps, but I got them from the US, so it's not a hard to get stuff. It says $6, but I pay like $50 for this one. This is the other record from that band, Los Vikings. So I got the three of them. This is probably the one that I've had the hardest time getting like a clean copy. This one is near mint, the vinyl, but the cover is like VG because somebody sat on it.
Yeah.
Somebody sat on it. But there's a lot of great compilations. Why there's a lot of great compilations? Because most of these bands, like a lot of bands from the 60s, they only release their stuff on 7-inch. So they have like 3 records, but most of their music is not on those records. It's on the 7-inch.
Gotcha.
So stuff like this, even like this is disco track from El Salvador. This one's called San Salvador. This one goes for like $100 on Discogs. It's pretty good. Wow. I don't have a YouTube channel, but at the same time I sort of do. I have a video that I play some of these records. If anybody wants to check them out, Jose Moreno Rahn. Here it's missing one of my last names, which is Moreno, but that's fine. But just so anybody,
I ran out of space.
No, don't worry. It's just so if anybody wants to. I even got like ska music from El Salvador. So
I'm working on it, Mark Boyd. I'll see if I can find your channel here, Jose. I think I found it. So yeah, there's a lot of stuff from over there that I'm always happy to find. This one I got like 2 weeks ago, which is cumbia
big band called Hermano Flores, and this one is not on Discogs, specifically this one. But I found it in the U.S. and it's signed by the whole band.
Oh,
Which,
nice.
but I got it in the U.S. So again, weird. But there are a lot of us over there in the U.S. So you know, but yeah, there's a lot of great side music, a lot of compilations that I'm always interested in finding out. There's some stuff that it's like impossible to get. These took a while for me to find. This is like poppy, like CCR type pop, but they have like psychedelic music as well. Los Christians, which it's called that because a priest got them together and they form a band. It's not religious music at all, but a priest, in the '60s was like, "Hey, these guys play music and she sings. You should make a band." This is a horrible cover, but it looks like somebody scratched it, but that's the actual cover. But again, I'm just happy to own these. Because it's not like people in other countries that they can collect from their vast amount of music from their country. For me, it's like there's probably like 300 records, and that's it.
Right.
And so
I
I'm
don't know if you have any Mexican psych there.
yeah, of course, but I can't pull all the fucking records, Mr. Vinyl Piper. But what is this? What's this? Oh no, that's definitely not a site. I'll show.
Did you do do you ever? I'm looking at your channel. There's this DJ stream, Jason Rojas. Were you on that one too? Were you spinning from your house?
Yeah. I spin records from here sometimes.
Well, there you go.
This is Frida Kahlo's lover, Chabela Vargas.
We could do another one of these where you're spinning some records or something.
Yeah, that'll be cool. I mean, I think that again, there's a lot of great music. Most of these bands, also, by the way, they sang in English. So
okay,
again, I don't think it's a language barrier. I don't think it's sort of that. I have seen some people in the VC show some of these records. This record, actually, I saw Richie. What is it? Vinyl Richie?
I think that's the one everyone's going to run off and try to snag because it's
yeah, but you should get it because it's very good. There's a cover of "Break On Through" by The Doors. The first, what is it? Rompe el ritmo. Yeah, that's "Break On Through." But they're all fucking good. The Vikings one, and you can see like photos of the 7 inches because again, most of them were just 7 inches. Cool. But it sounds pretty good, and again, I suggest people check it out because I think El Salvador had a great potential, but you can't judge a country by the poor decision of their politicians, and a war happened, and I think that technologically, and we were like behind for a lot of time, like 10, 20 years, so musically, still to this day, there's a lot of great bands that Rocío Dúrcal, no.
You see the message?
Yeah, no, that's like Mexican, like telenovela, like a soap opera, old lady type music.
Oh, okay.
But no judgment. But I think that there's a lot of people that listen to music from Brazil because they don't understand the lyrics, but they feel this sort of like groovy type music, which is good, I guess. But but you should also listen to music because of other reasons, I guess. You do you, I guess. But I do want people to explore more sounds of Latin America, not just to think that it's just all of it is just like reggaeton and salsa and cumbia. Yes, because cumbia is actual genre, originated in Colombia, and every country here has its own type of cumbia. I know Vinyl Piper likes Peruvian, but for example, like Peru has the strongest. After Argentina, I would say Peru has the strongest psych um, like catalog of bands. It's insane. And like for example, Chile has an insane amount of great experimental music. An insane amount of great experimental music.
That's
And
cool.
garage. Even from example like Venezuela, like before like all that political stuff happened, they had one of the biggest running pressing plants in Latin America. Them and Brazil, they had the last pressing, like open pressing plants in Latin America, and there's a lot of extremely popular bands like Black Sabbath that their records only got pressed, like those late 80s, early 90s, mid 90s records only got pressed in Brazil or Colombia
Mm.
because they were that's the format that they were still people were still getting the records, so labels were adamant of having those records pressed on vinyl.
Yep.
So if you want I don't know which Cross Purposes by Black Sabbath, I think there's a UK version and a Brazilian version, right? Stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that there's great music from all over the place, and people should not just listen to it because it's like exotic or whatever, but because it's great music.
Yeah.
Some of it's gonna be in English because of course, culturally in the '60s and '70s, everyone wanted to be the Beatles, everybody wanted to be whatever, right? The Rolling Stones, and all these bands also doing original music that they really wanted to get popular, and they did it in English, which is not my favorite, but yeah, Los Mirlos. Los Mirlos is also playing here in Mexico soon. Everybody should check Los Mirlos. They have a KXP session, right? Not that long ago, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh, cool. Well, dude, I mean, I knew this was going to happen, man. We're going to need to do a part 2 because you're just a wealth of information, man. And it's like so much great stuff. I'm sorry, dude. We've been going. It's been over 2 hours.
No, don't worry.
20 minutes, man. I got to get my dinner. I'm so sorry, but
no, don't worry.
But bro,
but thanks for having me. Thanks for
man.
listening on.
It's really nice to finally get a chance to kind of do a one-on-one and share with people just that what you do outside of the Service Noise live stream, right? Which is you got the label, you're doing some great stuff. I love the mission behind it. I love the inspiration for the music that you're putting out there. Congratulations on putting out a vinyl album. Everyone should go check it out. I will add all the links, dude. I'll hook up with you and get your links and stuff like that, and we'll put it in the description so that people can look at it in the future and stuff.
Super, perfect. Well, thanks a lot for the opportunity to talk about this. I know people have listened that I mention it once every. But sometimes again, I do music that it's maybe not for everyone, but I think it is. And maybe you just haven't heard it, or maybe you hate it or whatever, but you don't have to get it from my label. Get it from another independent label from around your place. Also support labels from your hometown, around the corner, from your country, and support artists that you see at a bar, because I've had the pleasure of working with artists that I saw them play, release a cassette with me, and now they're in Sony Music. So,
Wow, that's awesome.
so I don't know. It feels rewarding because it sort of means that I saw something in them that I knew the whole world was going to. And I don't know, just experience, uh, experience music, even if it's not going to be other genres of music, try it out. It might be nice.
Yep. Yep, and use Bandcamp, a great resource for discovering some of that stuff. And cool to know that you can go out and you can just buy the wax straight from the website. So, all right, brother. Well, thank you so much, man. I know you've been busy with the band and stuff. I appreciate you taking the time, and I know people watching this are going to really enjoy it. So
I will be on Thursday because we played a lot, so we're cooling down this week, rehearsals and everything. So awesome. I will be on Surface Noise this week. Hopefully, also next week. The thing is that daylight savings thing also fucked me up a little bit because because it used to be like around 9 here, and then 8, and then now 7. So it's just like
weird. Yeah. Okay. Awesome. Right. Look forward to seeing Jose on Thursday too, guys, and hopefully get back to being a regular on Surface Noise. Everyone, thank you so much for being here. I'll be back tomorrow on the Spinz Vinyl channel with Brandon as we do another episode of Turntable Tales. Tomorrow's going to be a fun one. So maybe I'll see you guys there. Same time, 8 p.m. Central. Jose, thank you so much, bro.
Thanks for having me. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it a lot.
Great stuff. See you guys.
Bye.